Hey, how's it going, everyone? Justin again, as always. Thanks for watching my channel. Welcome back. Happy New Year. Cheers to those of you that have your beers. Hope you're enjoying your weekend so far. Today's video, we're going to cover about 10 items roughly that either worked out well for us this year or didn't work out well for us at all. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's content. If you do, make sure to smash the thumbs up. Leave your comments down below if you own any of the products I'm getting ready to showcase here today, and your thoughts and opinions about what or how well or did not well that they worked for you. All right, that being said, let's go ahead and kick it off. First item up. All right, I brought 3 different ratchets here because I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. We're going to talk about what worked out well, what did not work out well between the Matco and the Snap-on Long Reach Soft Comfort Grip handle, okay? It was very difficult for me to get a really good camera angle for you guys so you could see what I'm talking about. So I brought the 3/8 with us, which we've had not quite as long as we've had these two. But you can see here, maybe, on the Snap-on handle where the deterioration is, little tiny chunks have been kind of coming out. And of course, it depends on where you're at, but overall, the handle is held up fairly well. The only ever time that these handles really fall apart is when you get into really tight spots where things are relatively sharp. But I did notice that with the Snap-on handles, usually there's little chunks that come out first. That's the first indicator that the handle is about due to get changed. And I think Snap-on still changes the handles out for you. Whereas with the Matco, I don't believe they change the handles out for you. In fact, I believe they just give you a whole new ratchet, if I'm not mistaken. But right here towards the top, where you can see where the orange meets the black, it's starting to kind of lift up. Now, I've had these 2 long reach ratchets about as long as one another, so that's why it's kind of a fair side-by-side comparison. If you can't see how the handle's lifting up, this will give you a better indicator, because on this Matco 3/8 drive, you can see where a couple little chunky chunks came out, but you can really see where that rubber has started to lift off the side of the ratchet and separate, okay? This happens on all their ratchets based on design. Little tiny gouges like this don't really happen, but this was a really extreme spot that I was in, and unfortunately it was just rubbing it on a sharp piece of metal into the engine bay. So just to kind of give you an idea of the handles that worked out well and which ones that did not work out so well and what some of those subtle differences were. The next thing, okay, so what's worked out well was actually this pair of channel lock long reach slip joint pliers, okay? These things are great. This style of lock made by Channel Lock, this thing was awesome. I was actually quite surprised on the amount of bite. So I brought home the Knipex brand because a lot of you know about the Knipex and how they work, right? How they bite, with where once you get it locked into where you want, you apply pressure on the top of the handle. You don't have to apply pressure anymore to the bottom handle, and how it keeps it secure, and you can really get some good bite and leverage off that, right? Well, to my surprise, these Channel Locks did the same exact thing. I didn't realize they were going to have as much bite, but the other day on this Ram 2500 that we were doing an alignment on, trying to adjust that sleeve, that thing was rusted on there good. We used rust penetrant, heat, everything, but I was killer impressed by these because as I was applying downward pressure, it wasn't quite enough to turn it, so I put the cheater pipe on there. That's right, a jack handle. I slid it right over the top handle and only the top handle, and maintained pressure at about 185 pounds because I literally was hanging from it, kind of giving it light jounces to get this thing to turn, and it just wasn't doing it. But I was surprised with how it just bit on and held on and it didn't move. So those worked out really well for us this year. The 4 amp hour battery and 6 amp hour batteries so far this year have held up fine. I use them more frequently with the heated jacket, which I'm not currently wearing, than I do most anything else outside of the soldering iron. I don't have very many Milwaukee tools anymore. The couple things that I do have from them have still held up, but it's not much, okay? So I got the jacket and I have the soldering iron, and I believe those are probably the only 2 products, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to go through stuff and see what else I got, but as far as I know, we don't really have a lot of Team Red in the toolbox, if you know what I mean. All right, one of these other items that worked out fairly well, and I actually have a new set here, okay, was the Icon screwdrivers. So you guys know a while back, I think maybe a year or 2 back, Harbor Freight had actually sent me some Icon screwdrivers just like this one, and they worked out very well. They had a similar design to the Snap-on. I'm going to try to pull out a Phillips equivalent here to the Snap-on one that I brought home, but you can see that the length and overall dimension, like the shape, some of the characteristics look very, very similar, right? There's a triangular shape, though the Icon one's a little bit more raised with that abrasive rubberized end. It does not have embossed teeth at the tip like the Snap-on one does. These little tiny serrated teeth work out very, very well. The hex is slightly different than that of the Snap-on, so a little subtle difference there. But this set that I got from Harbor Freight for free, I actually gave to one of our upcoming service techs. He was a lube tech and he was upcoming to be on the service tech side. We actually gave him that set of the Icon screwdrivers, and he has thoroughly loved using them, hasn't had any issue, hasn't had any need to return any of them to get the tips changed or anything like that. So outside of it not having the exact same characteristic at the Phillips tip, like these little embossed teeth, they have worked out very well this year. Maybe not in my hands, but in the hands of another service tech over at the dealership. All right, one of these other tools that just didn't really work out well this year was these Matco tap sockets, okay? You all know what I'm talking about with those broken off manifold studs or bolts, right, in the cylinder head, having to like drill and tap, run helicoils, all that stuff sometimes. These could come in handy, or you'd think they would come in handy, because to be able to be in a tight spot where you don't have this giant T-handle, you don't have space for that, these were ideal for what it was that I wanted to use them for. However, that being said, I just brought this home. This is a OEM helicoil set, by far one of the worst sets I've owned, just so you guys know. I did attempt to use their method of running in the coil, and it did not work out very well, and I found myself having to drill out their coil and use the actual true helicoil version. So this also did not work out well for us this year. I bought these kits, these specific AutoZone kits, just before I left Ron's Automotive and started over at the dealership, okay? Yes, I still work at Ron's Automotive, but it's a part-time gig and it's almost seasonal. It's when they get backed up on work. So technically I still work there, but I'm just kind of giving you food, like just basically timeline reference. When I have officially left working there full-time to go to the dealership, I bought this, tried to use it at the dealership, worst kit. So this did not work out well for us this year. Here's the tap from that kit. Now you would think down in here, here's a socket. I can't, this one right here where you would think it would go in and work out well, it just doesn't. I've even tried to tap the tap into the socket to get it to fit, and it just didn't freaking work out, okay? It doesn't fit. And that being said, that was just for the OEM one. I also have this Matco tap and die kit right over here that I purchased from Matco. So you would think Matco tap sockets, Matco tap and die kit, right? You'd think that would work out well for us too. Well, it did not actually. This year, it did not work out. I got these around the same exact time I started back at the dealership again, because we had run into a lot of exhaust manifolds that were broken hardware. And I tried fitting this down into the chamber and getting it locked in too. And it seems like it's going to be locked in, but as you start to turn it, it just kind of free turns in there. So by far, I'm just going to let you guys know, these tap sockets from Matco did not work out well for us. I was pretty disappointed in that. All right, another item. Now, I did have this probably for a hair over a year, but it's the gear wrench, a digital torque wrench, okay? Now, I have put this through the paces. I've used it, okay? Yes, it does come with batteries and stuff, but you push and hold. Okay, so this is one of those other items. It's not that it didn't work out well for us. It's just got finicky issues, okay? I'm going to say finicky. Because, look, I got it set here to 20 foot-pounds, I think it is, from the last thing that I had torqued down. And if you go just ever so slightly beyond the range in which you set it for, this thing gets angry and then turns itself off. It's kind of annoying because then you got to power it back on. The Snap-on one that I have, to be honest, if I over-torque something, it lets me know. But if I go beyond its maximum capabilities and I over-torque it, and it'll actually show me the number, and then it'll turn off, and then it wants to be turned back on. But as far as, like, let's say at 20 foot-pounds of that 3/8 drive Snap-on that I had, if I over-torqued it to like 22 foot-pounds, it would just flash and show that it was over-torqued, but reset itself to the 20 foot-pounds. So I was a little bit disappointed in the fact that the gear wrench one turns off all the time. Every time I over-torque, it just turns off. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for today's video, guys, of the things that worked out and didn't work out well for us this year. I hope you guys enjoyed today's content. We'll see you guys next time. Cheers and Happy New Year again, and we'll see you. Deuces.